see a friend or stranger acting up, do you pause and wonder what is going on in that person's life? Do you ever ask what it is they're reacting to? Sheena is a 30-year-old woman. She's a beautiful wife and mother who for many years felt out of place. She lived with a dark family secret that ate at her core. She grew up going to church on Sunday morning and evening. On Wednesdays, it was Bible study, and Friday nights, youth meetings. In spite of her church-centered upbringing, she became a promiscuous teen as a result of underlying, unanswered questions.
Hi, Sheena. So, how would you describe your early childhood?
I would say growing up was a typical household. Mom was there, dad was there. Just very typical. I grew up in church. I was in church morning, noon, and night, which kind of grounded me to the point where I'm at today. The only thing I knew was that I was adopted and I was born in D.C. So those were the only facts that I knew.
And where were you raised?
In Bermuda.
Did you ever try to look for the records of your birth mother or anything?
Absolutely. It was a closed adoption, which made it very difficult to find out information. But I was definitely a detective at heart and did everything that I could to try and find out information.
Do you have to be of a certain age before you can do that?
I believe the required age is 16.
16.
Mm-hmm.
Who gave you the information or the news of how you were conceived?
Well, I found out through a confidential source. I did a search and had some people help me to find out some information, and of course paid money to find that out.
To find that out. And for those that don't know what we're talking about, Sheena found out that she was conceived by rape. So she was adopted internationally. And how old were you when you found out about how you were conceived? Was it when you're investigating on?
During the investigation, so I would say probably around the age of 16, 17.
And how did that resonate with you when you find that out? Because the reason I ask you that is because typically anybody who's adopted deals with feelings of abandonment and a lot of other things that come along with it. But if you add that to the equation, another layer to it, how did that then manifest itself with you?
I think that it was actually really difficult for me to know that. I get the fact of not knowing where I came from, plus knowing that it was a mistake that I was here, was very difficult for me. But as I grew, I learned to know that me being born was not a mistake, and that I have a reason and a purpose for being here.
Absolutely. Now, once you investigated, did you find out who your birth mom was?
I did, actually. I found out her name and where she was living at that time. I also found out information about some of the other people in my family, but of course, because it was a rape, I never found out any information about my birth father.
Okay. And did you ever contact your mother?
I did, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, that was big. The first time I had made contact, that was during the investigation time, during when I was 16 or 17. She denied to meet me, so that was kind of the second whammy. And maybe about actually, it was 2 years ago, just before I came up here. I moved up here September 16, 2013. I had shot her an email just before moving to Florida, and she responded back to me on my birthday 2 years ago. That was special, very special, and she let me know in the email that, that time was a very difficult time for her, and she's pretty much put that past her. She doesn't want to go back to that. So that was difficult. I mean, at the same time, I'm glad that she responded. I was glad to know that she was, she's alive. And I also, the point of my email to her was to let her know that I definitely didn't have any ill feelings towards her, because, she could have aborted me, but yet she chose to go along with it. She chose to bring me into this world, and now I have my kids and I'm married. So if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have my family. So I'm thankful.
You wouldn't be here. Do you still communicate, or is that it?
It was a one-time email. I haven't heard anything from her since. I have made contact with a few other family members. As recent as 2 weeks ago, I actually met my grandfather for the first time. Met meaning corresponded with. He sent me a picture of himself, as well as a picture of my mom from high school, which was the first time I had ever seen a picture
Of her.
of her.
Period.
Period.
That was 2 weeks ago.
That was 2 weeks ago. When I was younger, I always felt like the odd one out.
Okay.
Even though that probably wasn't the case, it's kind of how I felt. I always had, an emptiness of some sort. Even though I had people around me that obviously cared about me and loved me,
Right.
there always was a hole. Just the fact of not knowing where I came from, why I am the way I am, because I was completely different from my family.
In what way?
I'm a risk taker.
Ah.
In every aspect of the word. They are very, very, I don't know what the word is, very calm, mellow.
Easy
They
go.
don't take risks.
Okay.
But I'm a go-getter. Anything I want in life,
You go for it.
I go for it.
So in your teenage years, how did the insecurities and all the feelings that come along with knowing that you're adopted, because at this point you don't really know how you were conceived, how did those feelings manifest themselves in you? Because they all show up differently for all different people.
Correct. I would say during my teen years, I did a lot of things that I was not proud of. I would say most of that is, I guess, due to the feeling of wanting to feel connected, wanting to feel the love that I felt was maybe missing. So I tended to, I went out a lot. I partied a lot, and even, slept with different people that I that I definitely shouldn't have. And that was all a part of dealing with the hurt. And then my son came, and that's when my world kind of changed.
How old were you?
I was 17 when I was pregnant with my son, which was the same age that my mom actually had me. So that was very weird.
Ancient history kind of repeats itself sometimes.
Exactly. But hopefully my son will not, be having a child at 17.
At 17. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But at this point, you also had known more about your history
Correct.
and where you had come from. When you found out about from your grandfather or from the other family members, did they ever tell you whether your mom was acquainted in any way, shape, or form to your birth father?
When I spoke to my grandfather, which was 2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
he did not know that his daughter was pregnant. I'm not sure how that was covered up. I have no idea. But when I told him about me, or when I made that call to him, it was a complete shock. He had no idea that I had even existed. So he said that she wore big clothes. He noticed that she was getting a little fat, but he thought it was just that. So I'm not sure how that was able to be covered up.
So he never knew his daughter was pregnant. Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
But how did you get his information?
His daughter, his wife's daughter was on Facebook. So when I did
Facebook is amazing.
Facebook, social media is
Amazing,
fantastic.
amazing. And he never knew you existed.
Never knew.
How long was your conversation?
I would say we were on the phone for at least maybe 20, 25 minutes. And he was very sweet.
That's a long conversation for somebody you've never met before.
Definitely.
And when you saw the picture of your mother in high school, do you look like her?
I do. Actually, but my daughter, my youngest daughter, is the split image.
Of your mother?
Mm-hmm.
When you look back at how far you've come with all this information from when you were a child, finding out you were adopted, finding out you were conceived by rape later on, how do you think you processed the whole thing? Are you surprised at yourself at how you've come up to be such a wholesome, mature, responsible person?
I would say it definitely was no part of myself. It was my faith that kind of kept me going.
Right.
Because if it was me, I don't know where I would be, definitely, with all the obstacles that I've faced. So it's my faith in God that's kept me.
And many people would say, oh, I would never tell my kid. If my kid was conceived of rape, I would never tell them. Or if they found out they were conceived of rape, they would keep it as a big, dark secret.
Mm-hmm. My life is pretty much an open book. I just think that certain things just shouldn't be kept. I think every situation that we go through should be shared with the right people to be able to help somebody else. Skeletons are not a good thing. Anything that's done in the dark comes out in the light, which is a true fact that I've learned. So if you don't have any secrets, nothing has to come out later. And you never know who you may be helping, so share.
Which is what we're doing here.
Exactly.
Because your story, I think, it's a great story that's going to help somebody. It's your life. Mm-hmm. It's not just a story, it's your life. But somebody somewhere is dealing with something, and maybe by looking at you, they'll see that there is hope.
Absolutely.
And that they can come out on the other side. I just thought about something. So, did your adopted parents know how you were conceived? Or did you tell them, oh, by the way?
No, I think even up until today, they kind of say that they don't know anything. They don't have any information. The only thing they know is I was born in DC, and that's about it. So this extra information is research that I've done, and I guess today they'll find out.
Oh, you mean they don't know?
They don't know the extra stuff. No.
So you've never had the conversation with them. So this is going to be the first time they're going to know how you were conceived.
Exactly. Hi, Mom.
Thanks to YouTube. There's a lot of information to find out. Now, listen, we're in an election cycle. All the politicians and all the people running for president, Roe versus Wade and everything comes into question. And a lot of times now there are questions about if somebody is impregnated by either rape or incest. Even people who are pro-life especially sometimes make those exceptions. Not all, but some do. But none of them, not that we know of, can sit there and say that they were conceived by rape or know somebody that has been impregnated by rape or incest. But, you have walked those shoes and lived that life. Mm-hmm. Do you think a woman should have a choice as to whether she should keep the pregnancy if it is conceived by rape or incest? What is your personal opinion on that?
Wow, that's a tough question. As someone who is actually, even though I was brought into this world, as someone who has actually had an abortion, the aftermath of that is gruesome. I think that if I had a choice to go back in time and undo what I did, I definitely would do that. I think that every child that is conceived has a reason for being and has a purpose. So me personally, I would say I don't think that, I don't like abortion. So that's my opinion. Of course, that's a really, really difficult decision to make, especially, if it's by rape. It's very difficult. But me personally, being here today because of a rape, I would, if I can redo things, I definitely would. I would definitely recommend to anyone, even if you have been raped, to have the baby. They have a purpose for being here.
Would you be interested in meeting your birth father?
I would love to meet him. I think it would be great. He may not be the same person that he was back then, so I would love the opportunity.
Do you know anything about him?
The only thing that I know was that he was in the U.S. Army, and that pretty much is it.
You're mature, and so you finally got into a place where you understand that you are not defined by your story and your experience. And did it take you long to get there?
Yes.
It did?
It did take me a long time.
What was it that put you there?
I think maybe even when I got married 6 years ago, that kind of put me in a different place, because my husband loved me for me. I got to know kind of really who I am because of him.
How soon after you met him did you, because it's something that's really personal. You don't go meet anybody and say, oh, by the way, how soon after you met him did you ever have this conversation with him, and how did he react to it?
I don't really remember I don't remember when I actually told him, but my life is kind of an open book. I knew that he wanted a relationship.
You're an open book. You've told people who you felt needed to know your story if it helped them. But now you've gone public. Everybody is going to see this. Why did you decide to go public with this story now?
I guess basically my life, or I live just to help people.
Yeah.
I feel that there are a lot of people who are going through the same situation that I've been through, and I've dealt with it. And there are other people who need to deal with it. And there are some, grown people, maybe even seniors, who probably are still facing this. So I guess my point of coming to you is just to say that if I can get through this, just a regular old girl, then they can too.
So I'm going to ask you my final and last question, which is my favorite question. I ask this to everybody I talk to. So I'm working on this TV show or talk show, and I always use a song that's like my soundtrack. It kind of keeps me going. My soundtrack right now through this is Michael Jackson's "Keep the Faith," because there are days when, Lord knows, I need the faith. I need to keep this going. What would you say is your soundtrack of life that most resonates with you, and what are the words in the song that just really hit the spot?
I would say the song that always usually first comes to my mind is called "I Surrender All," and that song.
I surrender.
Exactly.
Actually, how did you know that one? I can't believe it.
It's just a song that says, I can't handle it. I'm gonna give it to you, and I'm gonna cast everything on you and just live.
But I want to tell you a story because I know it's going to help somebody somewhere. I know that for a fact. There's a kid somewhere who is adopted, who is feeling out of place, who is in a really dark place. There's somebody somewhere with a big family secret that needs to hear that, that needs to hear the message that you're going to be okay. And that's what I want to tell you a story. And I really thank you for trusting us to tell your story. So thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And you did really well.
Oh, thank you.
So thanks. Thank you. Okay, thanks.
Our reasons for telling Sheena's story is because someone somewhere, maybe you, is living with a deep, dark secret that is consuming them. Let Sheena's story be a testament to the fact that your past and history does not define who you are today. Whatever happened has happened, and it's done. Hopefully you have learned a lesson, and hopefully now you can move on and not remain stuck with what it should have been or could have been. Understand that things happen not the way you want them to, but the way they're supposed to. Until next time, thank you for watching You Talk on YouTube.